Picture this. You're sitting in class, minding your own business, when suddenly you feel something burning hot seeping through your shoes. You look down and realize someone has squeezed industrial-strength hot wax around the solace, literally, cementing you to the floor. The entire class erupts in laughter as you struggle helplessly, your face turning crimson with humiliation. But what those bullies didn't know was that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Because the quiet girl they thought they could torment was about to unleash a revenge so scorching, so perfectly calculated, that it would leave them begging for mercy. This is the story of Maya Rodriguez, and how she turned molten fury into the sweetest justice you've ever witnessed. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The morning bell at Riverside Community College carried with it the same dread that Maya Rodriguez had grown accustomed to over the past semester. As an 18-year-old dual-enrolled student taking college courses while finishing her senior year of high school, Maya occupied an awkward space that made her an easy target. She was younger than most college students, but older than typical high schoolers, belonging fully to neither group and finding safety in none. The campus buzzed with the usual energy of students rushing between buildings, but Maya moved differently. Her steps were calculated, her path carefully chosen to avoid certain areas where trouble typically waited. She clutched her worn messenger bag tightly against her chest, using it as both a shield and a comfort object as she navigated the maze of social hierarchies that governed Riverside's student body. Tyler Brooks had established himself as the unofficial king of the college's social scene, despite being only a second-year student. His influence extended far beyond what should have been possible for someone barely 19. But Tyler possessed a particular talent for identifying weakness and exploiting it. He had built his reputation on a foundation of psychological manipulation, always careful to stay just within the boundaries that would avoid serious administrative action. Connor Walsh served as Tyler's ever-present shadow, a lanky redhead whose nervous energy made him the perfect accomplice. Where Tyler was calculated and methodical, Connor was impulsive and eager to please, making him dangerous in his unpredictability. Together, they had perfected a system of torment that went far beyond simple name-calling or physical intimidation. The heart of their operation centered around the student lounge, a sprawling common area filled with mismatched furniture and study tables where students gathered between classes. Tyler had claimed the corner section near the large windows, positioning himself where he could observe the entire room while maintaining the appearance of casual socializing. From this vantage point, he could orchestrate his daily entertainment. Maya's first encounter with Tyler's attention had been seemingly innocent. She had been sitting alone at a small table, working on an assignment for her advanced ceramics class, when Tyler approached with what appeared to be genuine interest in her artwork. His questions about her pottery sketches seemed thoughtful, even encouraging, and for a brief moment, Maya had allowed herself to hope that someone might actually appreciate her passion for working with clay. That hope was shattered when Tyler casually mentioned her work to the broader group, describing her little mud pies with just enough condescension to make the mockery clear while maintaining plausible deniability. The laughter that followed wasn't cruel enough to warrant intervention from nearby faculty, but it was sufficient to establish Maya as a source of amusement for Tyler's growing circle of followers. The pattern that emerged over the following weeks was insidious in its subtlety. Tyler never directly confronted Maya or issued obvious threats. Instead, he created an atmosphere of constant uncertainty that followed her throughout her day. Her backpack might be mysteriously moved while she visited the restroom. Her carefully arranged art supplies would be subtly disorganized, nothing missing but everything just wrong enough to be unsettling. Comments about her appearance or her solitary nature would drift from Tyler's table whenever she passed, always just loud enough for her to hear, but quiet enough to seem like private conversation. Sam Chun, a quiet sophomore who shared Maya's love of art, became her closest ally during this increasingly difficult period. Sam understood the particular challenges of being different at Riverside, having faced his own struggles as one of the few Asian students in their predominantly Latino and white student body. His friendship with Maya was built on shared experiences of feeling like outsiders and a mutual appreciation for creative expression. The ceramic studio became Maya's sanctuary during these weeks of escalating harassment. Located in the basement of the arts building, the studio was a world apart from the social battlefield above. Here, surrounded by the earthy smell of clay and the gentle hum of pottery wheels, Maya could lose herself in the ancient art of shaping earth and fire into something beautiful. Ms. Garcia, the ceramics instructor, recognized Maya's natural talent and began staying after hours to provide additional guidance, seeing in the young woman a dedication that reminded her of her own artistic journey. Maya's skill with clay was remarkable for someone so young. Her hands seemed to instinctively understand how to coax elegant forms from shapeless lumps of earth, and her glazing technique showed an unusual sophistication. Most impressively, she showed no fear of the intense heat required for firing her pieces. While other students nervously approached the massive kilns that reached temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, Maya moved with confidence around the equipment, understanding intuitively how heat and time could transform her creations. The studio's atmosphere provided a stark contrast to the tension Maya felt in other areas of campus. Here, creativity flourished and individual expression was celebrated rather than mocked. Ms. Garcia encouraged experimentation and risk-taking, values that stood in sharp opposition to the conformity demanded by Tyler's social regime. In the ceramic studio, Maya's quietness was seen as thoughtful concentration rather than weakness, and her dedication to her craft earned respect from fellow art students. However, even this refuge couldn't completely shield Maya from the growing intensity of Tyler's campaign against her. As weeks passed, his attention became more focused and his methods more creative, building towards something that would force Maya to confront the situation directly rather than simply enduring it in silence. Tyler's attention toward Maya intensified as October settled over Cedar Falls, bringing with it the crisp air and changing leaves that should have marked a peaceful transition into the academic year's rhythm. Instead, the shifting season seemed to fuel something darker in Tyler's approach to what he had begun calling his entertainment projects. Maya noticed the change immediately, though she couldn't yet understand what had triggered this escalation from casual mockery to something more deliberately cruel. The transformation began with small violations of her personal space. Maya would arrive at her usual corner table in the student lounge to find it occupied by Tyler's expanding group of followers, forcing her to seek alternative study locations throughout the campus. When she adapted by moving to the library's quiet section, she would discover her reserved books mysteriously checked out by other students, always ones connected to Tyler's social circle. The pattern was unmistakable yet difficult to prove, designed to create frustration without providing clear evidence of deliberate harassment. Sam Chun recognized the escalation before Maya fully acknowledged it herself. Having observed Tyler's methods for months, Sam understood that the bully's attention rarely decreased once it began focusing on a particular target. During one of their shared breaks between classes, Sam attempted to address the situation directly with Maya, suggesting they document the incidents and report them to campus administration. Maya's resistance to this suggestion revealed the depth of her conflict about confronting the situation. She had spent her entire academic life avoiding confrontation, finding success through quiet competence and staying beneath the notice of those who might wish her harm. The idea of deliberately drawing administrative attention felt counterintuitive to every survival instinct she had developed. Moreover, she feared that involving authority figures might escalate Tyler's behavior in ways she couldn't predict or control. The ceramic studio remained her primary refuge during this increasingly difficult period. But even there, Maya began to notice subtle signs that Tyler's influence was extending into spaces she had considered safe. Ms. Garcia mentioned having to reorganize the supply room after finding materials mysteriously scattered, though nothing appeared to be missing. The kill schedules, typically maintained with rigid precision, showed unexplained changes that affected firing times for student projects. Maya's latest creation, a series of decorative vases featuring intricate geometric patterns, had been scheduled for firing during the week when Tyler's harassment seemed to reach new levels of creativity. She arrived at the studio one morning to discover that someone had adjusted the kill temperature settings, causing her pieces to crack during the cooling process. Months of careful work were destroyed in a single night, and while no one could prove intentional sabotage, the timing felt deliberately calculated. Ms. Garcia's reaction to the destroyed pottery revealed her own growing awareness of the situation surrounding Maya. Rather than simply expressing sympathy for the loss, the instructor began asking careful questions about Maya's experiences on campus, her interactions with other students, and whether she felt safe in her various learning environments. These conversations, conducted while they worked together to repair what could be salvaged from the damaged pieces, gradually drew out Maya's reluctant admissions about Tyler's campaign against her. The revelation that Tyler's harassment had extended into the ceramic studio triggered something protective in Ms. Garcia's demeanor. She had spent years creating safe spaces for artistic expression, understanding that creativity required vulnerability and trust. The violation of her studio's sanctuary status represented a personal affront that went beyond simple student misbehavior. She began implementing new security measures, including updated access codes and surveillance equipment, while encouraging Maya to consider more assertive responses to the harassment. During this same period, Maya encountered Ethan Parker, a transfer student from Portland who had enrolled in several of her classes while pursuing a degree in environmental science. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Ethan's background differed significantly from most Riverside students, having grown up in a larger city where diversity and individual expression were more readily accepted. His perspective on campus social dynamics offered Maya a different lens through which to view her situation. Ethan first noticed Maya during their shared geology laboratory, where her quiet competence and attention to detail impressed him. Unlike other students who seemed primarily focused on completing assignments with minimal effort, Maya approached each experiment with genuine curiosity and precision. When she accidentally dropped a mineral sample during one particularly complex analysis, Ethan's instinctive offer to help led to their first real conversation. Their developing friendship provided Maya with insights into how someone from outside Riverside's established social structure navigated campus life. Ethan had encountered Tyler's group during his first weeks at the college, but his response had been markedly different from Maya's adaptation strategies. Rather than adjusting his behavior to avoid their attention, Ethan had simply continued pursuing his interests while maintaining polite but firm boundaries when approached by Tyler's followers. Maya found herself both admiring and envying Ethan's confident approach to potential conflict. His willingness to engage directly with challenging situations stemmed from experiences she had never encountered. Growing up in environments where standing up for oneself was encouraged rather than discouraged. Their conversations about these different approaches to handling adversity began to plant seeds of possibility in Maya's mind, though she wasn't yet ready to embrace more confrontational strategies. The situation reached a critical juncture when Tyler discovered Maya's connection to the ceramics studio and her growing friendship with Ethan. Rather than viewing these developments as reasons to redirect his attention elsewhere, Tyler seemed to interpret them as challenges to his established dominance over Maya's daily experience. His response involved coordinating a more systematic campaign designed to isolate Maya from her sources of support and force her into a position where passive avoidance would no longer be sufficient. The coordinated attack began with rumors carefully planted throughout various social circles, suggesting that Maya's academic success was the result of inappropriate relationships with faculty members rather than genuine ability. These whispers, never spoken loudly enough to constitute clear defamation, nevertheless created an atmosphere of suspicion around Maya's presence in advanced courses, and her close working relationship with Ms. Garcia. Connor Walsh played a crucial role in this phase of Tyler's campaign, using his connections among younger students to spread suggestions that Maya received unfair advantages in grading and access to resources. The rumors were crafted with enough plausibility to seem credible, while remaining vague enough to avoid direct confrontation. Students who had previously viewed Maya with indifference began regarding her with subtle hostility, interpreting her quiet demeanor as arrogance rather than shyness. Sam Chun attempted to counter these rumors through his own social networks, but his efforts were hampered by his position as Maya's known ally. His defenses of her character were easily dismissed as biased friendship, while Tyler's supporters could present themselves as objective observers, reporting concerning patterns they had noticed. The asymmetry of this conflict became increasingly apparent as Maya's support system found itself on the defensive, while Tyler's group controlled the narrative. Maya's family situation added another layer of complexity to her growing crisis. Her parents, Carlos and Sofia Rodriguez, had worked multiple jobs to support Maya's educational opportunities, viewing her college enrollment as validation of their sacrifices and evidence of their daughter's exceptional potential. Maya felt intense pressure to maintain her academic performance while avoiding any situation that might jeopardize her standing at Riverside or create additional stress for her already overburdened family. Lucas, Maya's younger brother, attended Cedar Falls High School and had begun hearing echoes of the rumors about his sister through connections between the high school and college social networks. His attempts to defend Maya's reputation among his peers were complicated by his own vulnerable position as a sophomore still establishing his place in the high school hierarchy. The situation created tension within the Rodriguez household as family members struggled to understand and address circumstances that seemed to extend beyond normal academic challenges. Tyler's campaign entered a new phase when he began targeting Maya's academic work directly rather than simply attacking her reputation. Her carefully researched papers began receiving unexpectedly harsh criticism from peer review sessions, with Tyler's followers raising questions about methodology and conclusions that seemed designed to undermine her confidence rather than provide constructive feedback. Group projects became exercises in isolation as other students, influenced by the persistent rumors, became reluctant to partner with someone who might compromise their own academic standing. The psychological toll of this sustained campaign began affecting Maya's physical health and academic performance. Sleep became elusive as anxiety about each new day's potential challenges kept her awake at night. Her appetite diminished, and she found herself losing weight at a concerning rate. Most troubling, her passion for ceramics began to wane as the studio's previous sanctuary status felt increasingly compromised by Tyler's expanding influence. Ms. Garcia recognized these warning signs and attempted to address them through increased support and encouragement, but she also understood that the solution required Maya to develop her own strategies for managing the situation rather than relying entirely on external protection. Their conversations began focusing less on artistic technique and more on personal empowerment, with Ms. Garcia sharing stories from her own experiences overcoming challenges and adversity. The breaking point approached when Tyler announced his intention to organize a campus-wide showcase of student work, ostensibly to celebrate the diverse talents represented at Riverside Community College. His proposal, presented to the student government with apparent enthusiasm for promoting community engagement, included plans for displays from various academic departments, including the arts program that housed Maya's ceramics work. Maya initially viewed this development with suspicion, recognizing Tyler's involvement as a warning sign rather than a positive opportunity. However, pressure from Ms. Garcia and other faculty members to participate in what was being promoted as a celebration of student achievement made withdrawal difficult without appearing uncooperative or antisocial. The showcase represented exactly the kind of public exposure Maya had spent months avoiding, but refusing to participate would validate the rumors about her receiving unfair treatment and special accommodations. The campus-wide showcase proposal gained momentum with surprising speed, receiving enthusiastic support from administration eager to demonstrate Riverside Community College's commitment to celebrating student achievement. Principal Anderson personally endorsed the initiative, viewing it as an opportunity to strengthen community relations and showcase the diverse talents that made their institution unique. What remained hidden beneath this surface enthusiasm was Tyler's true motivation for orchestrating an event that would place Maya's work under intense public scrutiny. Tyler's strategic brilliance lay in his ability to weaponize seemingly positive opportunities, transforming celebrations into battlegrounds where his targets would face impossible choices. The showcase represented the perfect trap because refusing to participate would confirm the whispered allegations about Maya's lack of genuine talent, while participating would expose her to public humiliation on an unprecedented scale. He had engineered a situation where every available option served his ultimate goal of breaking Maya's spirit completely. Connor Walsh worked tirelessly to spread enthusiasm for the showcase throughout their social networks, emphasizing the competitive aspects of the event while downplaying its celebratory nature. He suggested that students would be judged not only on the quality of their work, but on their presentation skills and ability to engage with community members who would attend the evening exhibition. These additions transformed what should have been a simple display of student creativity into a high-stakes performance that would test participants far beyond their artistic abilities. Maya learned about the showcase's true nature during a ceramics class when Ms. Garcia reluctantly shared details about the expanded scope Tyler had proposed to the administration. The event would feature formal presentations where students would explain their creative processes to panels of community judges, including local business leaders and potential donors to the college's arts program. Winners in various categories would receive scholarships and recognition that could significantly impact their academic futures. The scholarship component created the impossible choice Tyler had carefully engineered. Maya's family's financial situation made any educational funding opportunity desperately needed. Yet accepting the challenge meant exposing herself to Tyler's machinations in the most public forum possible. Her parents had already begun discussing the possibility of Maya transferring to a less expensive institution if costs continued mounting, making the potential scholarship money crucial for maintaining her educational path. Sam Chun immediately recognized the trap inherent in Tyler's showcase proposal when Maya confided her growing anxiety about the approaching deadline for submission. His own artistic work, focused on digital media and graphic design, would be evaluated in a different category, but he understood that Tyler's attention to Maya meant the entire event was designed around destroying her confidence and reputation. His attempts to encourage Maya to withdraw from consideration were complicated by the genuine financial need the scholarship represented. Ethan Parker's perspective on the showcase differed significantly from both Maya and Sam's analysis of the situation. Having participated in similar competitive exhibitions during his time in Portland, he viewed the event as a standard academic challenge rather than a personal attack. His encouragement for Maya to embrace the opportunity stemmed from genuine belief in her artistic abilities, though he remained unaware of the full extent of Tyler's campaign against her. Maya's internal conflict intensified as the submission deadline approached. Her latest ceramics project, a series of vessels inspired by traditional Hispanic pottery techniques learned from her grandmother, represented some of her most personal and technically accomplished work. The pieces incorporated advanced glazing methods that created stunning visual effects when fired at precisely controlled temperatures, demonstrating both her artistic vision and her mastery of the demanding technical requirements involved in working with molten materials. Ms. Garcia advocated strongly for Maya's participation, viewing the showcase as an opportunity to demonstrate publicly what she witnessed daily in the studio. Maya's talent deserved recognition, and the instructor believed that community exposure could open doors to additional educational and professional opportunities. However, Ms. Garcia's enthusiasm was tempered by her growing awareness of Tyler's involvement and her protective instincts regarding her most dedicated student. The decision became more complicated when Maya discovered that Tyler had volunteered to serve on the student organizing committee for the showcase, giving him direct influence over presentation schedules, venue arrangements, and evaluation criteria. His position allowed him to shape the event's structure in ways that would maximize Maya's discomfort while maintaining the appearance of fair and objective organization. Connor Walsh's role as Tyler's lieutenant on the committee ensured that their influence would be coordinated and comprehensive. Tyler's public enthusiasm for the showcase masked his private preparations for what he envisioned as Maya's final humiliation. He had begun researching her family background, her academic history, and her personal interests, gathering information that could be weaponized during the public presentation phase of the competition. His goal extended beyond simply embarrassing Maya. He intended to destroy her credibility so thoroughly that her continued presence at Riverside would become untenable. Maya's Aunt Rachel Martinez emerged as an unexpected source of guidance during this period of escalating pressure. Rachel owned Clay and Fire Studio, a successful pottery business in downtown Cedar Falls that served both functional and artistic markets. Her experience as a professional artist who had overcome significant challenges to establish her career provided Maya with a different perspective on confronting adversity. Rachel's approach to Maya's dilemma emphasized empowerment through excellence rather than avoidance through withdrawal. She argued that Maya's artistic abilities were strong enough to withstand scrutiny, and that hiding her talents served no one's interests except those who wished to diminish her potential. Their conversations took place in Rachel's studio, surrounded by examples of what could be achieved through dedication and courage, providing Maya with tangible evidence that success was possible despite obstacles. The family dynamic surrounding Maya's decision revealed the broader stakes involved in her choice about the showcase participation. Carlos and Sofia Rodriguez had invested enormous sacrifices in their daughter's education, working additional shifts and foregoing personal needs to support her academic pursuits. Their pride in Maya's achievements was deeply intertwined with their hopes for her future, and their belief that education represented the path to opportunities they had been denied. Lucas Rodriguez faced his own pressures related to Maya's situation, as rumors about his sister began affecting his social standing at Cedar Falls High School. Students who had connections to Riverside community college through older siblings or friends brought whispered stories about Maya's alleged academic dishonesty and social problems. Lucas found himself defending a sister whose situation he didn't fully understand while managing his own vulnerable position in the high school social hierarchy. The submission deadline created a crisis point that forced Maya to confront the fundamental question of whether she would continue allowing Tyler's campaign to dictate her choices. Her natural inclination toward avoiding conflict warred with her growing awareness that passive resistance was no longer sufficient to protect her interests or maintain her academic trajectory. The showcase represented a line in the sand that would define not only her immediate future, but her long-term relationship with her own potential. Maya's decision-making process was complicated by the realization that Tyler's influence had begun affecting other students who might participate in the showcase. Several promising artists from various departments had withdrawn their submissions after experiencing mysterious problems with their work or receiving discouraging feedback from Tyler's network of supporters. The pattern suggested that Tyler's campaign had expanded beyond targeting Maya specifically to encompass anyone whose success might overshadow his own social dominance. The ceramic studio became the site of intense preparation as Maya wrestled with her final decision about participation. Her latest firing had produced exceptional results, with glazes achieving exactly the luminous effects she had envisioned and forms displaying the confident elegance that marked her best work. The technical achievement represented months of experimentation and learning, demonstrating mastery of processes that required precise control of materials, heated to temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Ms. Garcia's observation of Maya's internal struggle led to increasingly direct conversations about courage, artistic integrity, and the responsibility that came with genuine talent. The instructor shared stories from her own career about moments when she had been forced to choose between safety and growth, emphasizing that artistic development required accepting risks that extended beyond technical challenges to encompass personal vulnerability and public exposure. Tyler's final manipulation came in the form of a seemingly casual conversation with Maya outside the student lounge, where he expressed surprise that someone with her limited experience would consider competing against students who had been developing their skills for years. His comments, delivered with apparent concern for her welfare, suggested that participation would only expose her inadequacies to public view and potentially damage her academic standing if the judges found her work substandard. The conversation revealed Tyler's sophisticated understanding of Maya's psychological vulnerabilities while demonstrating his confidence that he had engineered an unwinnable situation. His apparent generosity in offering her an escape route was actually a final attempt to secure her withdrawal without the need for more direct confrontation. The choice he presented was deliberately framed as protection when it actually represented the complete surrender he had been working toward for months. Maya's response to Tyler's ostensible concern marked the moment when her passive resistance began transforming into something more dangerous for her tormentor. Rather than accepting his suggestion with gratitude, she found herself studying his face with new attention, recognizing for the first time the calculation behind his apparent spontaneity. The realization that every aspect of their interaction had been planned and orchestrated triggered an anger she had been suppressing for months. Her decision to submit her work for the showcase came not from confidence in victory, but from refusal to grant Tyler the satisfaction of her voluntary surrender. The choice represented a fundamental shift in Maya's approach to their conflict, moving from defensive adaptation to active resistance. She had no clear plan for managing the challenges that lay ahead, but she had finally reached the point where continued avoidance felt more dangerous than direct confrontation. The submission of her ceramics portfolio set in motion events that would transform not only Maya's situation, but the broader dynamics that had allowed Tyler's campaign to flourish unchallenged. Her decision represented the point of no return that would force all parties to reveal their true intentions and capabilities, setting the stage for confrontations that would determine whether talent and determination could overcome systematic intimidation and social manipulation. Maya's submission of her ceramics portfolio for the campus showcase triggered an immediate escalation in Tyler's campaign that caught her completely unprepared for the intensity of his response. Within hours of the deadline, she began experiencing a series of seemingly coincidental problems that appeared unrelated but followed a pattern too consistent to be accidental. Her student ID card mysteriously stopped working for building access, requiring multiple trips to administrative offices during her already limited free time between classes and work obligations. The first direct sabotage attempt occurred in The ceramic studio during what should have been a routine glazing session for pieces intended as backup options for her showcase presentation. Maya arrived to find that someone had contaminated her carefully mixed glazes with materials that would cause explosive reactions during the firing process. The discovery came only when Ms. Garcia noticed unusual coloration in the glazes that indicated foreign substances had been introduced, potentially causing kill damage and destroying not only Maya's work, but endangering other students' projects. Maya's initial response to the sabotage demonstrated her continued reliance on avoidance strategies that had become increasingly inadequate for managing Tyler's sophisticated harassment campaign. Rather than reporting the incident to campus security or demanding an investigation, she chose to quietly remix her glazes and reschedule her firing for a time when she could personally monitor the entire process. This decision, while protecting her immediate work, sent a clear signal to Tyler that she remained unwilling to escalate their conflict through official channels. Connor Walsh capitalized on Maya's reluctance to involve authorities by organizing what appeared to be a supportive study group for showcase participants, ostensibly designed to help students prepare for the presentation components of the competition. The group met in the student lounge during peak social hours, ensuring maximum visibility for whatever humiliation Tyler had planned. Maya's initial hesitation about joining was overcome by pressure from other participants who emphasized the collaborative benefits of shared preparation. The study group sessions revealed Tyler's evolving strategy for destroying Maya's confidence through psychological manipulation rather than direct confrontation. He positioned himself as a helpful mentor, offering suggestions for improving presentation techniques while subtly undermining Maya's confidence through backhanded compliments and seemingly constructive criticism that highlighted her perceived weaknesses. His comments about her interesting interpretation of traditional techniques and ambitious attempts at advanced methods were crafted to plant seeds of doubt about her artistic choices. Maya's attempts to counter Tyler's psychological tactics by demonstrating her technical knowledge backfired spectacularly when she tried to explain the complex chemistry involved in her glazing processes. Tyler had prepared for this possibility by researching ceramic techniques sufficiently to ask probing questions that exposed the gaps in Maya's theoretical understanding, despite her practical mastery of the processes. Her inability to articulate the scientific principles underlying her intuitive techniques made her appear pretentious and defensive to other group members. The situation deteriorated further when Tyler suggested that the group visit each participant's workspace to better understand their creative processes and offer environment-specific advice. This proposal seemed reasonable and supportive, gaining immediate approval from other students who viewed it as an opportunity for mutual learning and inspiration. Maya found herself unable to object without appearing secretive and uncooperative, traits that would confirm Tyler's subtle suggestions about her antisocial tendencies. Tyler's visit to the ceramic studio represented a violation of Maya's last remaining sanctuary, transforming her safe space into another arena for his manipulation. He arrived with Connor and several other group members, ostensibly to observe and learn about ceramic processes, but actually to gather intelligence about Maya's methods and identify new vulnerabilities to exploit. His apparent fascination with the kill operations and glaze chemistry seemed genuine enough to fool Ms. Garcia, who welcomed the opportunity to educate students about her program. During the studio visit, Tyler displayed an unsettling level of interest in the technical aspects of Maya's work, asking detailed questions about firing temperatures, timing schedules, and safety protocols that seemed to go beyond casual curiosity. His particular focus on the kill operations and the storage of raw materials suggested he was gathering information for future sabotage attempts rather than simply trying to understand Maya's artistic process. Maya recognized the threat implicit in his questions but felt powerless to prevent him from learning about her methods without appearing paranoid and defensive. Maya's growing paranoia about Tyler's intentions began affecting her ability to work effectively in the studio, as she found herself constantly checking over her shoulder and second-guessing every decision about her project timeline and material choices. The stress of maintaining vigilance while trying to complete her showcase pieces under deadline pressure took a severe toll on her physical and mental health. Her sleep patterns became increasingly erratic, and her appetite diminished to the point where family members began expressing concern about her dramatic weight loss. The psychological pressure intensified when Maya discovered that Tyler had begun spreading rumors among the study group participants about her family's financial situation and her dependence on potential scholarship money from the showcase competition. His comments about students who really needed to win for financial reasons, rather than artistic recognition, planted suggestions that Maya's participation was motivated by desperation rather than confidence in her abilities. These insinuations created an atmosphere where her fellow competitors began viewing her as someone who might resort to questionable tactics to secure victory. Maya's attempt to counter these rumors by demonstrating her genuine passion for ceramics led to an ill-advised decision to invite study group members to observe one of her firing sessions, hoping to prove that her interest in the art form extended beyond financial considerations. The invitation backfired when Tyler used the opportunity to ask increasingly technical questions designed to expose her knowledge gaps while positioning himself as someone with superior understanding of the scientific principles involved in ceramic production. The firing session disaster occurred when Tyler's presence and constant questioning caused Maya to lose focus on the critical timing required for her glazing process. A momentary lapse in attention while she attempted to answer one of his deliberately complex questions resulted in overheating that cracked two of her most important pieces beyond repair. The loss represented weeks of work and eliminated her backup options for the showcase, leaving her entirely dependent on pieces that were still in production, with no margin for error. Tyler's expression of sympathy for Maya's loss was perfectly calibrated to appear genuine while subtly implying that the accident resulted from her inadequate preparation and knowledge rather than his deliberate distraction tactics. His offer to help her develop replacement pieces seemed generous to other group members, but was actually designed to create additional opportunities for sabotage while positioning himself as supportive rather than adversarial. Maya's refusal of his assistance was interpreted by others as ungrateful and suspicious behavior that confirmed Tyler's subtle suggestions about her difficult personality. Sam Chun's attempts to support Maya during this crisis were hampered by his own limited understanding of ceramic processes and his outsider status within the study group dynamic that Tyler had carefully orchestrated. His observations about the timing of Maya's problems and Tyler's convenient presence during each incident were dismissed by other group members as paranoid conspiracy thinking that reflected poorly on both Sam's judgment and Maya's influence over her friends. The isolation tactics were working perfectly as Maya's support network found itself marginalized and discredited. Ethan Parker's involvement in Maya's situation during this period remained limited by his focus on his own academic responsibilities and his continued belief that her problems represented normal competitive stress rather than deliberate sabotage. His attempts to encourage Maya by emphasizing the learning value of the showcase experience, regardless of outcome, were well-intentioned, but failed to address the reality that Tyler's campaign had transformed the competition into something far more dangerous than a simple academic challenge. Maya's family situation added additional pressure as her parents began noticing the dramatic changes in her behavior and appearance without understanding the underlying causes. Their questions about her increased anxiety and declining health created additional stress as Maya struggled to maintain the facade that everything was progressing normally with her studies. The scholarship opportunity represented such significant financial relief for the family that Maya felt unable to reveal the true costs of pursuing it. Lucas Rodriguez's experience at Cedar Falls High School began reflecting the broader community impact of Tyler's campaign as rumors about Maya's academic integrity and social problems filtered down through the interconnected network of students and families in the small town. His defensive responses to questions about his sister's situation at the college created additional social challenges for him while providing Tyler's supporters with evidence that the Rodriguez family was experiencing broader difficulties that extended beyond Maya's individual problems. The cascade of failures reached its peak when Maya attempted to document Tyler's sabotage activities by secretly recording one of the study group sessions, where she expected him to reveal his true intentions. Her inexperience with surveillance techniques resulted in obvious recording equipment placement that Tyler immediately noticed and exploited by performing an exaggerated display of helpful mentorship while ensuring that her recording captured only evidence of his supportive behavior rather than his manipulative tactics. Maya's realization that she was completely outmatched by Tyler's sophisticated approach to psychological warfare came when she discovered that her attempt to gather evidence had been turned against her as proof of her paranoid and untrustworthy character. Tyler's revelation to the group that Maya had been secretly recording their sessions was framed as a betrayal of the collaborative trust they had been building, effectively destroying any remaining sympathy other participants might have felt for her situation. The complete failure of Maya's defensive strategies left her isolated from her peers, alienated from potential supporters, and facing the showcase deadline with damaged work and no clear path forward. Her recognition that conventional approaches to handling Tyler's harassment were not only ineffective, but actively counterproductive forced her to acknowledge that she needed help from sources with experience and expertise far beyond anything available within her current social circle. The stage was set for Maya to seek guidance from someone who understood that Tyler's campaign required more than artistic talent to overcome. Maya's complete isolation following the recording incident left her staring at the ceiling of her bedroom at 3 a.m, contemplating the impossible mathematics of her situation. The showcase deadline loomed exactly 2 weeks away. Her backup pieces lay in fragments, and every attempt to defend herself had only strengthened Tyler's position while weakening her own. The scholarship money that could change her family's financial trajectory seemed to slip further from reach with each passing day, carrying with it her parents' dreams and her own academic future. The revelation that Tyler's campaign had evolved far beyond simple bullying into sophisticated psychological warfare forced Maya to acknowledge that her traditional strategies of avoidance and quiet competence were not merely inadequate but actively dangerous. His ability to manipulate social dynamics, control narratives, and anticipate her responses demonstrated a level of strategic thinking that she had never encountered before. Every defensive move she attempted seemed to have been predicted and countered before she even made it. Maya's decision to contact her Aunt Rachel came from desperation rather than strategic planning, born from the realization that she had exhausted every resource within her immediate environment. Rachel's pottery studio represented the only connection to ceramic arts that existed outside the college's sphere of Tyler's influence, and Maya's fragmented memories of family gatherings suggested that her aunt had faced and overcome challenges that went beyond simple artistic struggles. The drive to Clay and Fire Studio took Maya through downtown Cedar Falls at dawn, when the streets were empty except for delivery trucks and early shift workers heading to their jobs. The studio occupied a converted warehouse space that Rachel had purchased and renovated over the course of several years, transforming an industrial building into a working gallery that showcased both functional pottery and artistic pieces. The scale of the operation surprised Maya, who had imagined something more modest based on family conversations that focused on Rachel's art rather than her business acumen. Rachel's reaction to Maya's unexpected early morning arrival revealed immediate recognition that this visit represented more than casual family connection or artistic curiosity. Her niece's obvious weight loss, the dark circles under her eyes, and the tremor in her hands when she attempted to explain her situation triggered protective instincts that Rachel had developed through years of navigating competitive artistic communities where talent alone was rarely sufficient for success. The conversation that followed in Rachel's private workshop area, surrounded by kilns that dwarfed the equipment at Riverside ceramic studio, marked the beginning of Maya's education in the realities of power dynamics that extended far beyond academic environments. Rachel's willingness to listen without judgment while Maya described Tyler's campaign created the first safe space she had experienced in months, allowing her to articulate the full scope of her situation without fear of having her words twisted or used against her. Rachel's response to Maya's story revealed experiences that the family had never discussed openly, including her own confrontation with systematic harassment during her early career as a professional artist. The details she shared about gallery politics, competitive sabotage, and the techniques used by established artists to eliminate emerging talent provided Maya with a framework for understanding Tyler's methods that went far beyond simple school bullying into the realm of strategic warfare. The revelation that Rachel had faced similar challenges transformed Maya's perception of her aunt from a successful artist into someone who had survived and thrived, despite encountering obstacles that could have destroyed her career before it truly began. Rachel's workshop contained evidence of her resilience in the form of pieces that had been deliberately damaged by competitors and then repaired using techniques that incorporated the damage into new artistic statements that were stronger and more compelling than the original works. Rachel's approach to discussing Maya's situation differed dramatically from the sympathy and protective instincts that other family members had displayed when they learned about her struggles. Instead of offering comfort or suggesting avoidance strategies, Rachel focused on analyzing Tyler's methods with the detached professionalism of someone who understood that effective responses required clear thinking rather than emotional reactions. Her questions about specific incidents were designed to identify patterns and weaknesses in Tyler's approach rather than simply expressing outrage at his behavior. The tour of Rachel's expanded workshop facilities introduced Maya to ceramic techniques and equipment that existed far beyond anything available in academic settings. The industrial-grade kilns could reach temperatures that exceeded 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt copper and other metals that Rachel incorporated into mixed media, pieces that pushed the boundaries between ceramics and metalworking. The precision temperature control systems allowed for experiments with materials and processes that would be impossible in less sophisticated facilities. Rachel's explanation of advanced glazing chemistry opened Maya's eyes to possibilities she had never considered, including techniques that could create surfaces with specific properties related to heat conduction, thermal shock resistance, and controlled fracturing under stress. The scientific principles underlying these processes required understanding of materials science that went far beyond the intuitive approach Maya had developed through trial and error in her college studio work. The afternoon spent learning about pyrometric cone calculations and kill atmosphere control revealed the extent to which Maya's self-taught techniques had limited her understanding of what was possible with ceramic materials. Rachel's emphasis on precision and predictability in achieving specific results contrasted sharply with Maya's previous approach of hoping for successful outcomes without fully understanding the variables that influenced them. The education represented not just artistic advancement, but training in systematic thinking and strategic planning. Rachel's discussion of her own competitive experiences included stories about artists who had used various forms of sabotage and intimidation to eliminate rivals, ranging from contaminating materials to spreading rumors about artistic integrity to more direct forms of harassment that bordered on criminal behavior. Her survival and success had required developing countermeasures that went beyond simply producing excellent work to include strategic thinking about timing, presentation, and the management of information that could be used against her. The Revelation that Rachel had faced adversaries who used tactics similar to Tyler's methods provided Maya with hope that sophisticated harassment campaigns could be overcome. But it also made clear that victory required more than artistic talent or moral superiority. Rachel's success had come through careful planning, superior preparation, and willingness to engage in strategic thinking that anticipated and countered her opponent's moves, rather than simply reacting to them. Maya's introduction to Rachel's current projects revealed artistic techniques that incorporated controlled demolition and reconstruction as central elements of the creative process. Pieces that appeared delicate and refined had been subjected to deliberate stress and damage during their creation, then rebuilt using methods that made them stronger and more visually compelling than they would have been without the trauma. The metaphorical implications were not lost on Maya as she began to understand that her current crisis might contain opportunities for transformation rather than simply representing obstacles to overcome. The technical training that Rachel began providing immediately focused on precision and control rather than the intuitive experimentation that had characterized Maya's previous learning. Understanding exact temperature requirements, timing sequences, and material interactions allowed for predictable results that could be replicated and refined through systematic variation. The shift from hoping for successful outcomes to engineering them represented a fundamental change in Maya's relationship with her art and her confidence in her abilities. Rachel's workshop contained materials and equipment that enabled experiments with ceramic formulations that Maya had never encountered, including clay bodies designed for extreme temperature applications and glazes that could withstand thermal shock that would destroy conventional pottery. The industrial applications of these materials suggested possibilities that extended far beyond traditional artistic expression into realms where functional properties might become more important than aesthetic considerations. The education in advanced kiln operation included training with equipment that could achieve heating and cooling cycles with precision that allowed for controlled stress introduction and relief in ceramic materials. Rachel's explanation of how deliberate thermal shock could be used to create predictable fracture patterns opened Maya's understanding to techniques where apparent destruction became a tool for creating desired results rather than something to be avoided. Maya's growing understanding of materials science principles underlying ceramic production revealed connections between her artistic work and broader applications in engineering and manufacturing. The same properties that made certain clay formulations suitable for high-temperature artistic applications also made them valuable for industrial uses, where heat resistance and thermal shock resistance were critical performance requirements. Rachel's discussion of her business relationships with industrial clients provided Maya with perspective on how artistic skills could translate into practical applications that generated income and influence beyond traditional art market sales. The revelation that her aunt's studio produced specialized ceramic components for aerospace and automotive applications alongside artistic pieces demonstrated how technical expertise could create opportunities that existed outside conventional artistic career paths. The training in precise measurement and documentation techniques represented a significant departure from Maya's previous casual approach to recording her work processes. Rachel emphasized that advancing beyond amateur status required treating artistic practice with the same rigor that characterized professional scientific or engineering work, maintaining detailed records that enabled successful techniques to be replicated and refined through systematic experimentation. Maya's education in strategic timing and presentation techniques drew from Rachel's experience in competitive, artistic environments where the quality of work alone was insufficient for success without careful attention to psychological factors that influenced evaluation and reception. Understanding audience expectations, judge preferences, and the impact of presentation context on perception provided tools for maximizing the effectiveness of artistic communication beyond simple technical excellence. The revelation that Rachel had faced and overcome harassment campaigns similar to Tyler's methods included detailed discussions of countermeasures that had proven effective against various forms of sabotage, intimidation. These ranged from security measures that protected work in progress to information management strategies that prevented adversaries from gathering intelligence that could be used for future attacks. Rachel's workshop schedule accommodated Maya's college class requirements while providing intensive training in advanced techniques that compressed months of learning into concentrated sessions that pushed her understanding and capabilities far beyond her previous limitations. The pace was demanding, but Maya's desperate motivation and natural talent enabled rapid progress that impressed even Rachel, who had worked with numerous dedicated students over the years. The psychological transformation that accompanied Maya's technical education involved developing confidence based on systematic understanding rather than intuitive hope, creating a foundation for strategic thinking that could be applied to challenges that extended beyond artistic production. Rachel's emphasis on preparation, precision, and calculated risk-taking provided frameworks for approaching problems that contrasted sharply with Maya's previous patterns of avoidance and reactive behavior. Maya's growing mastery of advanced ceramic techniques occurred alongside her developing understanding of how materials science principles could be applied to solve problems that had nothing to do with traditional artistic expression. The same knowledge that enabled creation of beautiful pottery could also be used to engineer solutions for challenges that required controlled application of extreme heat, precise timing, and understanding of how materials behaved under stress. The final element of Maya's education involved learning to think strategically about timing, presentation, and the management of information that could influence outcomes in competitive situations. Rachel's experience had taught her that technical excellence alone was rarely sufficient for success. Without careful attention to psychological and strategic factors that determined how work was received and evaluated by audiences with their own biases and expectations. As Maya's 2-week intensive training period neared its conclusion, her transformation from desperate student to confident strategist had progressed far beyond what either she or Rachel had thought possible. The combination of advanced technical skills, systematic thinking approaches, and strategic planning capabilities provided her with tools for addressing Tyler's harassment campaign that bore no resemblance to her previous inadequate defensive attempts. The stage was set for Maya to return to Riverside Community College with capabilities that Tyler could never have anticipated, and knowledge that would enable her to transform their conflict from desperate defense into calculated offense. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.